Hello friends, yet another report which degrades the global image of India and Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been released. Probably many will say that this is yet another propaganda to tarnish the Vishwaguru status of India. Global media watchdog Reporters Sans Frontiers has named Prime Minister Narendra Modi in its list of 37 heads of states who massively cracked down on press freedom. The watchdog labeled them as press freedom predators, a gallery of grim portraits that includes North Korea's Kim Jong-un, Pakistan's Imran Khan and China's Xi Jinping. The list of 37 heads of state or government who have been accused of cracking down on media freedom also has Iran's Ali Khamenei, Syria's Bashar al-Assad, Myanmar Army General Min Aung Hlaing, Russia's Vladimir Putin and Brazil's Jair Bolsonaro. This comes less than a month after Prime Minister Modi signed a joint statement at G7 for freedom of expression. All that is left for Modi is to neutralize the media outlets and journalists that question his divisive methods, says Reporters Sans Frontiers, Reporters Without Borders. RSF noted that Modi has close ties with billionaire businessmen who own vast media empires which have covered his divisive speeches and propagated his nationalist populist ideology. Last year, when the streets of India echoed with slogans of Azadi, Azadi, we saw many right-wing influenced people asking, what kind of freedom do you need in an independent country? The answer was simple then, and the answer is simple even now. We need freedom from everything that stops us from being a global superpower. We need freedom from everything that is contributing towards tarnishing our global image. We need media freedom. We need the freedom to speak out the truth. So the question is, will India get this freedom? In this video, let us try to understand why Reporters Without Borders has called our PM a predator of media freedom. Before we move ahead, please subscribe to the Upfront and press the bell icon to get notification of all our updates. I'm Nihal Mohammed and you're watching the Upfront. India's ranking has been slipping steadily in various national and international indices on safety of journalists, freedom of expression and human rights. India has retained its poor ranking of 142 in the World Press Freedom Index this year, also meaning that the suppression of independent media houses has continued this year also. Now that's behind Afghanistan, South Sudan and UAE. Studies have shown that India's rate of conviction on deaths of journalists over 30 since 2010 is pathetic, with just 3 convictions. Physical attacks on journalists have increased, with at least 198 serious attacks between 2014-19, including 36 in 2019 alone. All are heads of state or government who trample on press freedom by creating a censorship apparatus, jailing journalists arbitrarily on inciting violence against them when they don't have blood on their hands because they have directly or indirectly pushed for journalists to be murdered, the RSF said. In 2020, 3 journalists were killed due to their professional work. On June 24, journalist Shubham Mani Tripathi was shot by unidentified persons in Unnao, Uttar Pradesh in retaliation for his reports on sand mining in the area. On November 8, journalist Israel Moses of Tamiyan TV was hacked to death by alleged drug dealers. On November 27th, Rashtriya Swaroop journalist Rakesh Singh Nirbhik died when his house was set on fire in Balrampur, Uttar Pradesh. In other instances, there is no clarity as yet about whether the deaths were related to their work. Police investigations are still inconclusive over the death of Parag Bhuyan, journalist of Pratidin Time and Assamese television channel, in a hit-and-run case on November 13 at Kakopatar, Assam. Attacks on journalists, including the horrific hounding and assault on Caravan journalist Shahid Tantre, Prabhijit Singh and a woman journalist in the national capital in Delhi on August 11 continue unabated. In this instance, despite lodging official complaints, police failed to register an FIR. Other cases shrouded in impunity are poorly investigated. The nexus between law enforcing agencies, the local administration, and local business and political interests have ensured that justice remains elusive. Media is called the fourth pillar of democracy in a democratic country like India. It is believed that whenever a democratic government tries to be autocratic, the media comes in the light to safeguard the interests of the citizens and netizens. But in India, this is far from reality. One section of the media is not getting tired of sitting in the godi of the government, and another sector has been silenced from time to time again and again when they have shown the courage to speak. During the anti-CAA protests last year, a group of journalists from Kerala who were covering the post-mortem procedure of the two who were shot dead during the protests were held for over 7 hours and were later dropped at Kerala-Karnataka border of Talapadi. Apart from this, many journalists have been booked under the controversial sedition law. The Rights and Risks Analysis Group (RRAG) stated in a report that about 55 journalists faced arrest, registration of FIRs, summons or show cause notices, physical assaults, alleged destruction of properties, and threats for reportage on COVID-19 or exercising freedom of opinion and expression during the national lockdown from 25th March to 31st May 2020. This trend was not seen only in BJP-ruled states in the country, but was also seen in non-BJP-ruled states also. The highest number of attacks in the media persons were reported from Uttar Pradesh, 11 journalists, followed by Jammu and Kashmir, 6 journalists, Himachal Pradesh 5, 4 each in Tamil Nadu, West Bengal, Odisha, Maharashtra, 2 each in Punjab, Delhi, Madhya Pradesh and Kerala, and 1 each in Andaman and Nicobar Islands, Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Gujarat, Karnataka, Nagaland and Telangana. We had seen in October last year that global press bodies had written to PM Modi to stop harassment of journalists and to drop sedition cases against them. How safe are female journalists in India? In a country like India, where women are considered to be unsafe normally, just think about the abuse that female journalists have to go through. As a journalist, there is no way to survive without talking about politics. And in a country like India, where politics is directly linked to religion, life becomes a tougher task for a female journalist. They are often targeted by troll armies with lots and lots of abuse, most of the time sexual. The RSF also said that the attacks on the media are even more virulent if the targets are women journalists who are labeled as prostitutes. Rana Ayub, a prominent Muslim woman journalist, faced image-based sexual abuse when a photograph of her face was superimposed onto an obscene video and spread over WhatsApp and social media. Journalists also face doxing, where their personal information and contact details are leaked to the public. Barka Dutt, one of the most high-profile and highly targeted women journalists in India, had her phone number leaked online, resulting in thousands of abuse and death threats on her personal phone number in an organized hate campaign. How can one forget about Gauri Lankesh, a journalist known for speaking out boldly against the establishment, who was assassinated in her house in Bengaluru little years ago after receiving death threats online. The RSF referred to the 2017 murder of veteran journalist Gauri Lankesh, calling her the best known victim of Hindutva, the ideology that spawned the Hindu nationalist movement that worships Modi. The most recent example of a Delhi-based Malayali journalist, Siddique Kappan, has acted like a cherry on the top of a cake that is curbing media freedom. He was arrested on his way to report on the death of a Dalit teenager days after she was gang raped. He has been languishing in jail for nearly 10 months now. Several proposals in the new IT rules in their present form suffer from unconstitutionality and will undermine free expression and privacy for internet users in India. Apart from this, a lot of curbs have been put on the media, especially digital media, in an attempt to reduce the growing resistance to the government in the form of new independent media outlets. As said earlier, media is the fourth pillar of our democracy. But today we see that the mainstream media has been sold to the ruling party and act as if they have no tongue or pen to question the government. Apart from this, smaller media outlets like The Quint, The Wire, News Laundry and many more web portals and YouTube channels face the wrath of the government whenever they try to tarnish the image of Prime Minister Modi. Press freedom is an essential part of a healthy democracy. As we all know, India is the largest democracy in the world, but our democratic principles are slowly diminishing. When was the last time our PM came out and gave an open press conference to the media? Why is it so that in spite of so many demands for a press conference, our PM chose to not respond to these demands? Why is it so that a journalist is being identified on the basis of his religion and not the reports or truth he speaks? Maybe only the one who thinks gets answers to the question he asks and others ask. Let us hope that each one of us can continue to question ourselves as to where we went wrong. Let us hope that media freedom is restored soon and our PM is never called a press freedom predator by anyone in the future. If you like the content we provide, please subscribe to the Upfront and press the bell icon to get notification of all our recent updates. Please share our videos with others and educate them. Thank you.